Okay, so what we want to finish up in this chapter here, we want to continue our discussion of the different types of revenues. Right, because we're looking at revenues, costs, and profits, right? So we've looked at this from our gate receipts aspect, our licensing aspect, our stadium income aspect, and now we want to look at our broadcasting aspect, right? And then what we'll do, if we get done with broadcasting today, which I think we probably will, if we get done early, we'll just be done because I don't want to restart this, have all weekend long, Monday, and then you start on Wednesday. And I have to go back all over again anyway because we will have forgotten it all. So we might get out a little early today depending on how fast we do our broadcasting, right? So in essence, you'll remember that we had been looking at this revenue stream, and we called it we called it TR here. So we had our TR being our gate revenue, our licensing income, our stadium revenue, and now in essence we want to look kind of briefly here at broadcasting revenue. So we saw what some of the components of this were. We saw that we had some revenue sharing going on within our leagues, and of course the differences in revenue sharing. So you had more revenue sharing in football. In fact, you had a lot of revenue sharing in football. It's essentially a 60-40 split. You have much less revenue sharing in baseball. So baseball, I think National League is 90-10 and Americans 80-20 or vice versa. I can never remember which. Not that much, right? Licensing income is pretty straightforward. Basically, every time you sell a T-shirt or a hat or whatever, or an advertisement in the movies or whatever, you're going to get money from that. We looked at stadium income last time, where we had this idea of how much we're making from things like box seats and parking and concessions and all that kind of stuff, right? So what I want to look at today is basically our broadcasting revenue. And we kind of want to ask ourselves, why are sports even shown on things like television in the first place? So if we go back to when we kind of started doing this, we've got the Philadelphia Eagles. They began broadcasting in 1948. And immediately what they noticed is that gate receipts fell by 50%. Right? Why pay all the money to go to the game if you can watch the game at home for free? Especially in today's markets where the TVs at home can be really, really big. And they've got all the neat little camera angles and stuff. You can see everything. You can see everything that's going on. So because of this, you have things like the NFL. If you've got a game, let's say the Chiefs are playing in Kansas City and the game didn't sell out, what are they going to do broadcasting-wise in Kansas City? It's going to black out, right? You're not going to be able to watch the game. We don't have cable television anymore. We don't have Dish. We don't have any of that stuff. We are literally streaming only. Well, I literally do not watch television. The only thing I watch is Netflix. But we do have the Major League Baseball app, which I think is $150, $200 like that. It gives you access to all of the games. You have to type in your location, and from your location, they say, okay, we think you're in market X. Okay. And of course, so what we can do, our market is the St. Louis Cardinals market for obvious reasons. It's not necessarily our team of choice, but Major League Baseball doesn't know that. It's all based upon your location. So every time we want to watch any type of game where anybody's playing the Cardinals, that game is delayed, right? All the other games, if we want to watch New York versus Cincinnati, we can watch that live. All of the other games, the games for our, quote, home market, unquote, delayed. Once the game is done, you've got to wait an hour and a half, then you can start watching the game, right? The idea being, of course, they don't want us. They think we are Cardinals fans. If we want to go to the Cardinals games, but if we can watch the game at home on our app, we do that rather than going to the game, right? It's the same sort of thing. So what we're looking at here, we've got our networks, right? Our cable stations, our satellite providers, etc. They have this demand to broadcast sports. And of course, the reason that they have this demand to broadcast sports is that it's because it's a derived demand. Right? The whole reason they want to broadcast sports is because the people that are buying their slots, their advertising slots, believe that people are watching that. So this derived demand is from the advertiser's demand for advertising, right? Selling their products, basically. And when you look at the data, right, I mean, you've got things like, you've got shows like, say, 60 Minutes, right? And you used to have things that preceded that. You would have football, right? This is a show that's on Sunday nights. It's on CBS. When CBS was showing football on Sundays, what do you think happened to the viewership of 60 Minutes? It went up, right? Because people are watching the game. They see the advertisements for this next time on 60 Minutes. The murder of Joe Blow and whether Susie Q really did it or not. Is an innocent person in jail? Find out in 20 minutes. Blah, blah, blah. People are like, oh, that sounds interesting, right? When they lost the contract for this, what do you think happened to the ratings for things like 60 Minutes? Went down, right? So it's not necessarily, and this is the way the networks and the cable stations and satellite providers and everybody else is looking at this, it's not necessarily just the advertising revenue during the game that's important. It can be the advertising revenue for the shows that are after the game as well that can also get these ratings bumps. Now, of course, advertisers are hoping to reach their target audience. Their target audience, you know, who it is that they're trying to reach. For sports, this is typically going to be who? Who's going to be your target audience? Males. 90-year-old guys? Young guys, all right? Your target audience is young guys. I mean, it just is. It's not that girls don't watch sports. It's not that old guys don't watch sports. The majority of the people watching sports are young guys. It's young males, right? And so what do we see advertising-wise? We see lots of commercials for beer. We see lots of commercials for cars. We see lots of commercials for computers, food, soda, right? Movies. For some reason, Young guys have a problem getting it up, I guess. See lots of commercials for ED medicines. I don't know what's going on there, but etc., right? Not a lot of commercials for tampons, right? You guys have watched sports. When was the last time you remember seeing a tampon commercial during the sporting event? There's not a lot of them, right? It's not that there's never any, it's that there's not that many of them, right? So we've got our sports teams and leagues. We have our media providers. All right, this is our cable network, etc. And then we've got our advertisers. All right, this is our Budweiser, Ford, Taco Bell, etc. Okay? So we have our advertisers paying slot fees to our media providers. In other words, here's how much the commercial costs. We've got rights fees going to our sports teams and leagues. They are providing the media providers with programming, which means they give ad slots to the advertisers, right? So once again, trust me, CBS, NBC, ABC, they don't care what they're showing. Sports, whatever, doesn't care. All they care about is how much can I get in this? How much can I charge for these? Right? The programming can be whatever. It doesn't have to be sports. The only reason they're going to show sports is because people will pay these slot fees to advertise on sports and to advertise on the shows that are usually immediately after sporting events. It's a pretty simple setup. So we have our leagues and our teams selling the rights to broadcast games to these media providers. And you've got, sizable revenues here. So for example, the NFL, they have contracts. Their contract was for $23 billion for a 2006, a 2013 time slot. All right? I mean, that's a lot of money. And interestingly enough, you have different ways that these are sold. So for example, what you have in Major League Baseball is, for the most part, teams sell on their own. So you have all of these different teams competing with each other to sell the programming. The NFL sells as a league. There's only one person to deal with, the NFL. The Kansas City Chiefs do not sell their rights. The NFL sells the rights to Kansas City Chiefs, and the NFL sells the rights to San Francisco, and the NFL sells the rights to the New York Giants, and the NFL sells the rights to the Dallas Cowboys. You deal with one person, you deal with the league. Major League Baseball, it's complete opposite. Everyone basically sells on their own. Now, I don't have to tell you who's going to get more. The NFL, right? Because you have all of these people, let's say CBS, NBC, and ABC. Let's just assume there's only these three networks. They want the right to show NFL games. And the NFL can, in essence, play them off of each other. With Major League Baseball, it's the exact opposite. CBS says, we want to show your game, New York Yankees. And NBC says, we want to show your game. And ABC says, we want to show your game. And the Yankees say, okay, pay us this much, whatever this dollar amount is. And they're like, it ain't worth that. We'll just go over here to the Mets and deal with them. So you have, in essence, the teams really competing with each other, basically making ad revenue for Major League Baseball not that large. The NFL, all the teams essentially acting as one. Everyone's united as one particular group, all moving together. Boom, they get a ton of money. We'll see later on when we're dealing with public policy how they came about to do this. Because if you think about it, in essence, what are the teams doing? They're colluding. That's exactly right. And the Sherman Antitrust Act says what? No collusion. You can't get together and set price. And that's exactly what the NFL does. What we'll see when we start talking about public policy is how they actually got to that point where they're able to get away with that. So, this brings us up to something called, in essence, the winner's curse. Because here's our problem. What is the worth of this game? This Chiefs versus Cowboys game, or Chiefs versus Eagles, or Cowboys versus Eagles, or Eagles versus Buccaneers, how much is that worth? Or New York Yankees versus New York Mets, etc. Is there, in essence, a winner's curse when it comes to sports? What happens if these media providers don't have good information on the value of these rights? Right? And to see how that can be a problem, let's assume that we do have full information. We know that the value of a game, I'm just making up a number here, is $1 million. All right, so this is, say, let's forget all this selling as a league, selling as individual teams. We just know the value of the media is $1 million for this particular game. NFL game number 4, between Team X and Team Y. It's $1 million. Let's just assume we only have 3 providers: ABC, CBS, and NBC. The game's value is $1 million. They can sell and receive $1 million in slot fees. They know this. No question. The question is, how much do we pay for the right to sell that one game? Let's just assume there's just the one game. CBS comes out and says, we'll pay $500,000. What are they going to do? They go a little bit higher. Well, I know that I can sell these slot fees to Taco Bell, Bud, Ford, and Viagra for $1 million. I'm only going to pay $500,000 to Team X and Y. It's the only team that exists. There is no NFL. There's none of that stuff. I'm going to make $500,000 profit just like that. I know I can sell this product for $1 million. I know I can buy this product for $500,000, and I know I can sell it for $1 million. I know I can sell it for $1 million. Well, I'll pay you $510,000. It's $490,000 in profit. Why should I let them have that? It's pure profit. It's just money literally sitting on the table. What's he going to say? $520,000, whatever, right? And in fact, if we know for sure what this value is, what will these numbers be eventually? They'll be really, 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 really close to, if not equal to, $1 million, right? It is literally money on the table. What happens if we don't know what this is? And we think it's $1 million. But it's actually only $900,000. Well, we think it's $1 million. But it's actually only $900,000. So CBS here bids. These people all think this is worth $1 million. It's really only worth $900,000. What are they going to bid up to? They're going to go up to $1 million. CBS is going to sit here and they're going to pay this $1 million. And then when it comes time, hey, they only got to sell that for $900,000. They won, but the curse is they paid $1 million for something that's only worth $900,000. This $23.9 billion was a 2006 to 2013 contract. 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. They did not negotiate this 2 days before, right? I mean, has this been going on for several years? Is it obvious? You're going to have the lot of negotiation for that? How do you come up with a number like this? Yeah, exactly. They hire econ students from Missouri State University that got their degree in economics and took this class in sports and entertainment economics, and NBC Studios out in Hollywood needs somebody to sit there and crunch numbers and advertising data and run demographics and say, okay, here's how many people are in these markets, and here's the number of 18 or 16 to 35-year-old males in this particular category, and we know what they're spending these dollars on, and so we can know how much we think they're going to be making in 2013. Back in 2004, Now you got to predict 10 years in the future how much people are going to be making, what they're going to be spending their money on. If they're going to be spending their money on that, how much is Taco Bell's ad slots going to be worth, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you have a flag controversy, right? Or Major League Baseball has a doping scandal, right? Or hockey has fewer fights, so what's the point of watching, right? Or golf has Tiger Woods can no longer play because he threw his back out. What's the point of watching? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? I mean, you're setting these contracts up way back here, 2004, 2005. There's a bunch of kids, and I say kids being basically you guys are kids to me, because my kid's your guys' age, right? So there's all these kids out here crunching these numbers, trying to figure out what this guy's going to be way out here. Well, the contract's set. Can't get out of that. So we can have this winner's curse, where in essence, yeah, you won the rights. But man, viewership's down because people are mad about the flag, or viewership's down because people are saying you're doping, right? Anybody can be a better baseball player if they're doped up. I could be a better baseball player if I'm doped up, right? What does that prove? That doesn't prove anything. So we've got this winner's curse issue. But there are some advantages to this, right? Because what we can do, we could have, say, for example, the media provider owning the team. Except in the NFL, corporations can own teams. Right? And this has some advantages, right? Because in essence, what you could do is you could have media ownership of the team. So you could, in essence, avoid the high cost of broadcasting rights right? I mean, you just say, well, I own this team. There's no point in charging myself all this much. Just do it for whatever, right? Of course, now you, in essence, have to deal with this decline in revenue. For the team, but that's okay because you own the team and the media company anyway, and maybe you can move monies around just like we saw with movie companies did, right? Where they've got these different blocks of movies and they move revenue around between these guys to make it look like profits are not as large as they really are. We could have reduced contracting costs. If broadcasting is done in-house. Right. In essence, you've got this decreased cost in downstream or basically in upstream costs that shows itself up in lower downstream costs. So, I mean, when we're talking about these contracting costs, what we mean is that all of this stuff that we were doing over here with our, okay, here's all the 10 economists that we want to hire from Missouri State University to sit out there and crunch numbers for 2 years to figure out how much the contract is worth. We don't have to do that. You set the contract at whatever price you want it to be. It doesn't matter. You want to set it high? Fine. That means the broadcaster got a lot of revenue and the team has very little. You want to set it low? Fine. It's the other way around. Doesn't matter, right? But at the same time, you've also reduced these contracting costs. Could have some decreases in taxes here. So let's assume that the parent company owns the team and makes large profits. But the team has a loss. What they can do is they can lower their taxes by, in essence, shifting revenue from the company itself to the team. Essentially the same thing, like I said, that we saw the movie companies doing. Got this block of movies, I'm going to move the revenue from, it's not really Star Wars that people are paying for that's in this block. It's this movie nobody ever heard of, and we're just going to move the money from this block. We're not going to distribute it to Star Wars. We're going to distribute it to this other movie here that lost a whole lot of money. So that the Star Wars itself continues to lose money, quote unquote, right? It doesn't quite make its money back. Maybe not for fun. Maybe we just do it for fun and not really for profit. I mean, here, in essence, to agree, you kind of have this principal agent problem. To a degree. I mean, let's look at somebody like Jerry Jones. You guys all know who Jerry Jones is, right? Jerry Jones likes to be seen, or Jerry Jones does not like to be seen? He loves the limelight. There is no doubt about that. That guy loves being an important guy. He loves people kissing his rear end. No question about it. If the Dallas Cowboys were losing money, would he still receive utility owning the Dallas Cowboys? I guarantee it. He loves the limelight. You can see it in his face. You can see all the times that he's on television. It's obvious. The guy loves that kind of stuff. So if he owns a media company and he buys a team at the Dallas Cowboys, let's assume the Dallas Cowboys are not a moneymaker, they're a money loser. Why would you buy the Dallas Cowboys if they're a money loser? It's good old-fashioned fun, right? Profit doesn't really have anything to do with it. Now, here's the problem. Let's assume Jerry Jones is not the owner. He's the CEO of the company that owns the Cowboys. So let's not make him owner. Let's make him CEO of Company X, and Company X owns the Dallas Cowboys. And we know that corporations can't own teams in the NFL, but let's just assume that they do just for the sake of argument. He gets to go to all the games. He gets to sit at the 50-yard line in the box seats. He gets all the importance. He's the big guy on campus, right? And that has value. I mean, that he likes that kind of stuff. So let's assume the Dallas Cowboys here lose money, but he's still going to do it because he loves all of the adulation that goes along with it. He loves all of the limelight. The shareholders of the company might not like that very much, right? But that is, in essence, the whole principal agent problem in a nutshell, right? How do you trust that person to actually do what it is that you want them to do? Okay, that's a pretty good stopping point since it's basically time to go anyway. All right, I will see you guys, or actually I will not see you on Monday. I have a funeral to go to. I will not be here. My stepdad passed away Wednesday. So I will see you guys Wednesday. Somebody will be in here to give the test. Okay?